New here? Here's how to work with NCG Business Advisors in 3 easy steps.
First, book a consultation with the link in our bio or by sending us a quick DM.
Next, we'll learn about your business and build a custom plan. For tax prep, bookkeeping, or payroll, whatever fits your needs.
Then you get peace of mind knowing your finances are in order. And a trusted team is with you year-round, not just during tax season. Ready to get started? Send us a DM with the word START or book a consultation today. So a little bit about myself. I'm a Dallas native. I've lived in Dallas practically all my life. I love Dallas. I love Texas. A lot of my friends and even Escalade himself can say that I'm as Texas as they come.
True Texas boy with a cowboy hat and all.
Yes, and so I'm a Longhorns fan. I went to UT Dallas where I graduated with an accounting degree. From there, I went on working full-time at different CPA firms and picked up experience and just really learned what public accounting and working with small businesses is really like. You know, me being Hispanic and growing up in Hispanic communities, I always saw the hustle and the way that Hispanics work and how hardworking they are. And growing up and going into school, being the first in my family to graduate from a university, it's not only a big honor, but it's also a big challenge because now I was at the point where I had to navigate everything on my own, and so it got to a point where I decided, you know what, I want to give back to the community. You know, I want to work with Hispanics that are not getting great service from various providers or other preparers or other accountants, and they're not being educated on what is it that they're doing for them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so it got to a point where, you know, I said, hey, you know, it's time to start something. It's time for me to leave my my 9 to 5 job and start something and go from there. You know, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And as a Hispanic individual with their own business and working and trying to provide for their family, it's very hard for them to know these kinds of things. And
Yeah.
so I'm happy to say that now on our current book of clients, about 75% are Hispanic. And I think it's a very good honor because not only have we been able to stay true to that same motive that kicked things off, but we're able to constantly keep adding and expanding on that end, and that same drive has helped us expand with different cultures and different communities. We now have Korean clients, we have white clients. We have black clients. You know, we have clients of all businesses. It's a big honor, I think. And so that's just a little bit about myself and about the firm and how we started and why we decided to do what we do and how we, you know, help the community.
Awesome. Good stuff.
What about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
You know, so kind of like Edgar, you know, I'm a Cuban immigrant, migrated to the U.S. when I was 9 years old in 2006. So came to Tampa, Florida, where I spent roughly about, I would say, 8 years before I joined the military. So I served in the U.S. Navy for 8 years. Super proud of that accomplishment. Was the first one in my family to be in the military, first one to graduate college. So those things are things that I really carry with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, something I always talk about is lift as you climb. So trying to set an example for my family, for my siblings, for people around me, make sure I'm mentoring and giving back to the veteran community, which I'm super passionate about, Latinos and veterans alike. You know, things I while in the service, I got my degree in finance. So you went the accounting route, I went the finance route. And then later on, I got the opportunity to do an MBA at the University of Maryland and really focus on corporate finance and strategy. Edgar went into, you know, public accounting. I ended up going into working at the Big Four. So ended up spending some time at, you know, one of the Big Four accounting firms. Did finance and strategy and really operations there. So I think that's some of the skill set that I bring to the team. operation processes, making sure we get from this level to the next. And so, yeah, just excited to be part of the team. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we're doing in Austin and Dallas and Houston and in Tampa now in the state of Florida?
Yeah. So, the core of NCG is in Dallas. And we've served Dallas really well. And so we said, hey, if Dallas has been a great market, things are doing well, there's processes in place, why can't we reciprocate that and go somewhere else? So we're going to be expanding into Austin, opening up some offices in Austin, Houston, San Antonio as well. And so we're super excited to do that. And then as well down here in Tampa, where we're shooting this episode from, we're here in Tampa right now.
Yeah.
Tampa's a great, robust city, an incredible market. Business is booming, real estate is booming.
Hi everyone, I'm Edgar Iniestra, co-founder and tax partner of NCG Business Advisors. We help businesses with tax prep, planning, consulting, bookkeeping, and payroll. Whether you're starting, you're growing, or you're well established, we're here to support your financial needs. We're based out of Dallas, but we are now servicing the great city of Austin. Super excited to be here in Austin. Hook 'em horns, drop a comment down below, and send us a DM to get started.
So I can't think of a better place for NCG to be and really dominate this market.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited to be here. And we're young. We're 27, 28. Our counterparts are 55, so huge gap, but we've got a lot of energy, so you better watch out.
Yeah, definitely. When I first started talking to you and starting conversations with you, and you mentioned you lived out here in Tampa. I've never been to Florida, and so when I thought about Tampa or Florida, all I thought about was beaches and sunny days and a couple hurricanes. But once I visited, I realized that Tampa Bay has hustle, and it's a great city to be in. Everyone's constantly doing something, everyone's constantly working, running up their business, and it's a great place to be in.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to visit Tampa and be here and visit with Escalade and get to know him and his family and get to know his community. I think that the Cuban community it's a really strong and resilient community, and I've never experienced it to this depth.
Yeah, very deep rooted in Tampa. Very.
Yeah, and so I can see it, and even going to his Cuban barber, his Cuban barber is very, very passionate about what he does, and he likes what he does, and he's a really cool Cuban guy, and so it puts into perspective what different communities bring and how it is outside of Texas and how things look like outside of my bubble, and so I'm just happy to be here, with the clients on this side and meeting the people that I've met. And so far, I've had nothing but great experiences.
Yeah, I'm glad you live in Tampa, man. It's a great place.
Yeah, definitely.
A write-off doesn't mean free money. Let's fix that right now.
Yeah, so basically, when you write something off, it only lowers your taxable income. So it's not gonna lower what you owe. It's just gonna lower what you're taxed on. So that's pretty much what a write-off basically is.
Why do you think that's a common misconception?
People think that a write-off is dollar for dollar when it's not. Somebody may think about buying a vehicle over the 6,000 pound limit, and they think that just because the vehicle is over, it's 100,000 plus, that then they won't have to pay 100,000 plus in tax. And so basically, like I said, it's not dollar for dollar.
Yeah, and that makes sense because we see a lot of these videos online, and a lot of these tax gurus really talk about Section 179 and the write off a Lamborghini Urus and some crazy ridiculous things are thrown out there. So
yeah,
glad to have the clarity on that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so if you're using one bank account for everything, business and personal, then you're asking for chaos.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Because when you think about a business, right, me and you chat about this all the time. We talked about the corporate veil.
Yeah.
So when you mix personal and business expenses, you essentially don't.
If you're a business owner, don't forget that W-2s and 1099s are due by January 31st. Every year, people wait too long and end up missing deadlines, which can mean penalties. At NCG Business Advisors, we make sure that your year-end filings are accurate and on time. Whether you have contractors, employees, or both, we'll handle the details so you can focus on running your business.
Really have a way to separate. And in case of liability, or maybe you're in a lawsuit case or a case with the IRS, they're going to take a look at those bank statements, those transactions. And if everything is mixed, your personal with business, then there is really no separation. So we want to make sure you have that corporate veil. So separate your personal and business expenses. Stop operating the business in that way.
Yeah. It also comes down to accounting and, record keeping. It gets really messy when you're wanting to run your bookkeeping on personal bank statements or a personal bank account, because at that point, your accountant can't differentiate between business and personal. And so you start running into issues where if you're wanting to bid for a contract, the commercial individuals, construction commercial, then you start getting into the issues where you're overstating your expenses because there's no telling what is business and what is personal. And so that is also something very important to keep in mind when it comes to keeping things separate.
Yeah, and that's why we recommend when you start a business, open up an LLC, get an EIN number, and stop operating your business out of your personal bank account. It's really difficult to separate these things. So when you get an LLC, you get an EIN, the next step we recommend is you go and open up a business account. This lets you have a checking account, potentially open up a credit card, and it has a clear line of distinction on what's business and what's personal, and then you're able to pay yourself from that business account. So you really can separate things.
Yeah, definitely. So that refund that people are always excited about, that's not free money. That's really money that they owe you. Especially if you're a business owner, that it comes down to you have to make estimated tax payments throughout the year. And so if you overpay, you are now basically just getting your money back. And so in a sense, you're pretty much loaning the government your own money as opposed to, using that money to work for you. So then that's where you kind of get into the circle where would I rather have the government hold my money for me, or would I rather have use that money for something else? And so in a lot of times, if you're a high net worth individual and you're paying in too much, then you're definitely shooting yourself in the foot. So it's always very important to properly plan ahead and estimate these tax payments.
Yeah, it's like, do you want that money available throughout the year so you can use to maybe run payroll, operating expenses for the business, or if you don't plan accordingly, then you'll just get a big.
As a Texan, I came to Tampa, Florida, thinking it was just beaches and palm trees, but the city's got hustle. The business scene here is fast growing, and NCG Business Advisors is officially in town to help support the businesses here. We're talking tax prep, payroll, bookkeeping, and all the things you don't want to deal with. Let us handle it while you grow your business in Tampa.
Refund at the end of the year, but it's money that you could have had throughout the year. So adjust your contributions so that we're able to make sure you have that money year round. And if you want it at the end of the year, that's fine. But I think that's why it's important to have an accounting team who constantly plays offense and understands business owners and their needs. And depending on your lifestyle, your business, your family, then we can decide what's the best course of action for you.
Yeah, that's right.
If you wait into tax season to find an accountant, you're probably too late already. Why is that, Edgar?
I would say that you're late because you start getting into the situation where if we're in November and you're wanting you're just now coming to where you're cleaning up your books, getting your accounting in order, and you're pretty much wanting to see where you're at, then you're 11 months late, and now you're putting your accountant and whoever you bring on under that unrealistic timeline of getting you through by the end of November probably, to then potentially do some tax planning to see where you're at on the tax side. And then it also makes it worse if you didn't separate your expenses, So it's very important that you engage with an accountant early in the year, or even before, even now for next year. And so if you're doing it now, you're already too late.
Yeah, if you haven't ran payroll, if your books are behind, If you really haven't understand throughout the year what your tax liability is, based off your net income or what it could potentially be, I think that's why having a year-round accountant who understands your business is really intertwined with your life, family, and understanding like pretty much your financials. And, we talk about playing offense for our clients all the time. It gives us the ability to really have year-round knowledge of what's going on and really be there for you. Me and Edgar talk about this all the time. You really want to make changes before December 31st, right? Anything after the December 21st, you can't realize in the next year. For example, if you purchase a vehicle and you purchase that before December 31st, we can depreciate that vehicle. If it's heavy enough, we can take 100% depreciation on the car. But if you purchase it January 1st, then we can't count it for that previous year, right? So that's why we talk about having an accountant early on who's working with you throughout the year is super imperative. And it can mean the difference between owing thousands and maybe those thousands that you owe or hundreds of thousands, we can use that to buy materials for the business, to spend some money on training, purchase some vehicles, things that are necessary for the business to operate and that we can really leverage for you.
Yeah, definitely. Most small business owners are losing money because of this one thing.
Yeah, so I know we're talking about the topic of business owners losing money. One of the biggest things is business owners are not tracking their books week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter. And so if business owners are not proactively looking at their books, understanding what their cash flow looks like, maybe there's months that you're getting.
Think tax season starts in April. Think again. Your biggest opportunities end December 31st. At NCG Business Advisors, we help businesses get ahead with smart tax planning strategies that can help you save thousands. Don't wait until it's too late and talk to an advisor now. Make every dollar count before the year wraps up.
A lot of income, a lot of revenue in months that you're a little bit less, right? And so if we can recognize trends in revenue for you, then maybe we can leverage that for you to help you for those months that are a little bit slower. So if you're not looking throughout the year, if you're not planning, even looking at deductions or planning for year-end taxes, it's hard to understand if you're not looking at it and not really planning ahead. So your books are super important. It's something that we stress to our clients that they do on a month-to-month basis, that they look at their P&Ls, that they find areas. Maybe you're spending a little bit too much money on marketing or advertising, or perhaps your payroll is really heavy. And we look at areas that we can be more efficient and more lean and put you in the best position.
Yeah, definitely. And really just taxes aside, accounting and, bookkeeping and all that stuff kind of just goes way back. Definitely the biggest principle of accounting and having your books in order is to really tell where your money's going. A lot of the times if you have an employee or somebody on the team that's, potentially embezzling or stealing from you, or if there's constantly inventory just disappearing, like how are you going to track that? If you're months behind, if you're not on top of that. And so it might come to a point where you get your books in order for taxes at the end of the year, and come to think of it, there's big discrepancies. Obviously we're not auditors. We're not going to audit your books, but definitely as accountants, we see these trends. We see what rent was for the month, and if somehow that doubles or somehow it was paid twice, but that was 6 months ago, like how are you going to go to the landlord and say, hey, I paid you twice 6 months ago? So it's just one of those things that, taxes aside and all that kind of stuff, is really important just to know where your money's at, especially as a small business owner, medium-sized owner.
Every dollar counts.
Every dollar counts, yeah. It comes down to that, and so it's very important to keep track of your money, your numbers, and just where you're at.
Yeah, and I think when you're operating the business and you're focusing on closing those deals, sending out estimates, getting clients, making sure invoices are getting paid, it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and not have that 30,000-foot bird's eye view of the business and how it's operating. And your accounting team is definitely, we say we play offense all the time. So we're here for the clients to make sure that, we're your eyes and ears, and we can identify trends and spot them early on and let you know, hey, we see this, let's fix this, let's adjust it. So yeah, hire an accountant.
Yeah, you can write off your car, but only if you do it right. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, I think it's a hot topic to talk about because nowadays we see videos online circulating from the tax gurus who tell people they can write every single car. And, when you get audited, you're going to come to someone like us and we're going to tell you couldn't do that, right? So the gross weight has to be 6,000 pounds. And we talk about two ways to write off cars, right? If your car is over 6,000 pounds in gross weight, if you miss the S Corp election deadline, you miss out on major tax savings for the entire year.
For most businesses on a calendar year, you must file Form 2563 to have the S Corp election take effect on that year.
If you wait, the election won't apply until next year, unless you qualify for a late election relief.
Comment S Corp down below and we'll reach out so we can get your filing in on time to maximize your savings.
You can 100% depreciate it over a year.
Yeah.
If it's under that, you could still write the car off. It would just be over a 5-year depreciation.
Yeah, that's right. What about when it comes to mileage? Can somebody potentially write off their vehicle through mileage, or what does that look like?
Yeah, there's deductions for mileage. For 2026, it's going to be 70 cents a gallon. Mm-hmm. For 2025, it's 68 cents. So we recommend you keep a log of your miles. There's apps out there. Even QuickBooks has a way that tracks your mileage, but there's various different apps you can use to track how much you're driving for the year. And if you're driving the car for personal reasons and for business reasons, on average, people drive 12 to 15,000 miles a year. Yeah. Find a way to find that clear distinction. Separate that, because we can take huge deductions from mileage alone. So.
Yeah, definitely. And even on the tax preparation side, we can look at what was business and what was personal, because a lot of the times a small business owner, they only have one vehicle. They don't have a whole fleet. And so obviously with one vehicle, that same vehicle is both business and personal. It might be business throughout the day from maybe 9 to 5, regular business hours. But then after 5, they have to go pick up the kids. They have to go get groceries and whatnot. So it's also very important that you're keeping track of your total your total miles, and be able to keep track of what miles during the day were for business and what miles during the day were for personal use. And so another thing too is miles driven to your house from your place of business. It's not business anymore. That is now personal. So that's also something where the IRS can potentially come and look at that and say, hey, all these miles here, that was you going home. And so although it is very important to kind of keep track of what your miles look like, you also want to be detailed about that stuff.
So everyone says to start an LLC, but that doesn't automatically save you on taxes. Can you elaborate on that, Edgar? Why doesn't that necessarily create tax write-offs for you, just having an LLC?
Yeah, so basically an LLC, as a lot of people may know, an LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and that's at the state level. So, in any state you live in, which is whether it's Texas or Florida or New York or California, then you pretty much file your LLC within that state. So when you file your LLC, you're basically just letting them, pretty much wondering if that business lunch or that new laptop is tax deductible. Here's a quick rule of thumb. If the expense is ordinary and necessary, it's probably deductible. Ordinary means it's common in your business, and necessary means it helps you grow or operate your business. Software subscriptions, office supplies, or maybe traveling for work. But personal expenses, not so much. NCG Business Advisors can help you track, categorize, and maximize your deductions the right way. Setting up shop. You're pretty much getting yourself to where you're in business now. Depending on the nature of your business, and you're getting into where you have liability protection. Obviously, with an LLC, there's also requirements to keep that liability protection. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to save you money on taxes, because for tax purposes, whether you're a single member LLC or you're a partnership, multi-member LLC, then you're still taxed as self-employed. And so then at that point you're now paying self-employment taxes on your income. And so it doesn't save you taxes at all. And so I would say that's the biggest misconception when it comes to an LLC.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Edgar, can you tell us the clear distinctions in the eye of the IRS, between a single member LLC, an S Corp, and a corporation? Yeah.
So an LLC is basically just you. If it's single member, if you're the single owner of the entity, then it's basically just you doing business for yourself. And so whether you have an LLC or not, then you're pretty much taxed the same way. Once you go onto the S corp side, then you're pretty much making an election with the IRS. Being an S corp doesn't mean you're an S corp at the state level, because states don't have S corps. They have LLCs, but then you can make an election with the IRS to be taxed as an S corp. On the corporation side, though, you can incorporate within the state. You can be a corporation with Florida, Texas, New York, California, or whatever state you reside in. But from there, if you're an LLC, you can also make an election to be taxed as a corporation with the IRS. And so basically it comes down to the LLC being the most flexible vehicle, because you can stay an LLC, you can be an S corp, you can be a C corp, or you can be a partnership in the event that you add a partner to your business, or you start off with a partner.
Got it. Perfect.
If you only look at your books once a year, then you're flying blind.
Yeah, I mean, it's like fighting with the hand tied behind your back, right?
Yeah. It also reminds me of that one movie, Bird Box. Yeah.
Oh, the Bird Box.
It reminds you of Bird Box, just kind of just walking around and kind of like, feeling things and like, seeing where you're walking. Basically, I would say that's kind of like, if you're not, keeping track. Here's how you can deduct your business vehicle. If you use your car for work, whether you're visiting clients, making deliveries, or traveling between job sites, you may be able to deduct those costs. You've got two main options: the standard mileage rate or the actual expense method. This is where you deduct the cost of gas, insurance, maintenance, or even depreciation. Keep solid records and separate business from personal use. And here's the bonus: if your vehicle weighs over 6,000 pounds, like many trucks and SUVs, you could qualify for bonus depreciation and deduct a large portion of the cost, or potentially the whole thing. Of your numbers and keeping your books month to month, and like you're pretty much just walking. Like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Like, are you making money? Are you like losing money? What's going on in the business, so
yeah, we have even clients that don't even know what it costs them to run payroll on a month-to-month, bi-weekly basis. People that are not able to pay their employees say, hey, I'm not able to pay my employees, I have no idea what's in the bank account. And that's not outrageous. We hear it. People don't know what's actually in their bank accounts. Which is,
and definitely, and one of the scariest things I've seen, it's I had somebody come in from a different accountant, and they were coming in and obviously part of our onboarding process is saying, okay, let's get your current numbers, let's get your prior year tax filings, let's get access to your QuickBooks, whatever you're working with, so that we can onboard you and start pretty much start from the last month to now. And, pretty much the guy was like, well, I don't have access to the bank account. I've never gotten, financial statements. And then I asked, well, have you looked at your bank statements? He said, no, I haven't looked at my bank statements. And I said, so your accountant does all this? And he's like, she takes care of everything. And so it's one thing to have an accountant and keep your books, but it's another thing to be completely blind on these kinds of things, because who's to say this individual was not, keeping money or embezzling from this guy, just because he wasn't, aware that he had to kind of be on top of these things. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so it's very scary to find something like that, and come across somebody in that situation, because like, how do you advise them? And so it's very important to have an accountant and work with your accountant. Work with your accountant, be on top of what's going on. Ask for financials. Look at the numbers. Don't just hire somebody and then just let the days go by. Does that make sense? Yeah. And because at the end of the day, financial reporting and reporting your numbers and the work that we do, is not only for taxes, but it's also because they're for management. Yeah. So management are supposed to look through these things and make decisions based on.
We recently helped a business that ignored IRS letters thinking it was no big deal. But soon, audits turned into wage garnishments and levies, freezing their account and threatening to shut them down. Ignoring the IRS only makes things worse. We help you tackle these problems before it spirals out of control. Don't wait and DM us now. Protect you and your business.
On those numbers.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, how do you know if you have to raise prices? You know, how do you know if, you know, your cost of goods sold is constantly going up? You know,
Yeah. How do you spot those trends?
how do
right?
you spot those trends?
If you want to, maybe you want to give a raise to some people. Can you afford to give a raise?
Can you afford it? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to this goes beyond the scope of taxes. This goes beyond where's your money going? Is somebody stealing from you? You know, are you making informed decisions?
Yeah. Are you profitable?
Are you profitable? You know?
Yeah. And if not, why aren't you profitable?
Yeah.
Understanding where you, I mean, we can even run and figure out what your margins are.
Bookkeeping isn't just about keeping track of numbers. It's one of the most powerful tools you have for tax savings. Hello everyone, I'm Edgar Iniestra, and today we're talking about how great bookkeeping can lower your taxes. A great bookkeeping system will reflect accurate books, which means you'll never miss a deduction. A great bookkeeping system will also give your tax pro the data to find tax saving strategies. A great bookkeeping system will also help you make business decisions that will improve profitability. Good bookkeeping is like a GPS for business finances. It keeps you on track and saves you money. If you'd like to hire a bookkeeper, send us a message. This has been Tax Talk with Edgar. See you next time.
Yeah.
So it's super important to look at your books on a month-to-month basis. Some people do it quarterly, which is fine. It takes sometimes 3 months to really see changes, whether that's how you collect or when you receive income. But stay on top of your books. Don't look at them once a year. That's a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Edgar, so wanted to ask you, what does it look like to work with NCG?
Yeah, so working with us is a little bit different, I think. You know, we're at NCG. We've been around for 4 years, and ever since from the beginning, we wanted to take the approach of being approachable, being friendly and give good service, but at the same time also educate. And so that's also part of why in the last year we've invested a lot of time and money in putting together these kinds of things. This kind of content and then just connecting with the right people that will help us deliver that. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to prepare a tax return, or we don't want to prepare a financial statement, or even run payroll for anybody, and they don't know why we're doing it or what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so also too, our approach has been building a relationship with our clients, with our leads, our potential clients, and it comes down to being friendly and being there for people. And from when we first started, we always shot for that. You know, that was our number one objective, building a relationship. Our clients, you know, they have parties. They have birthday parties for their kids. They have New Year's parties. They have Christmas parties, and even like 15s, quinceañeras. You know, as we have in the Mexican culture, and they invite us to that. You know, I've been out there at a quinceañera with a client, and you know, I've been at a New Year's party with a client, and so at the end of the day, it's a really good feeling for us, because not only is the client bringing business over to us.
Hey guys, Edgar here. If you have an S corporation or are thinking about starting one, this video is for you. Let's talk about reasonable salary and why the IRS cares about it. Why does a reasonable salary matter? As an S corporation owner, you can split income between salary and distributions. But if you pay yourself too little, the IRS can reclass your distributions and hit you back with penalties and taxes. So you may ask yourself, what's a reasonable salary? There's no magic number to a reasonable salary, but the IRS does look at things like experience, hours worked, industry norms, profits, and cash flow. You can use tools like job boards and industry metrics to arrive at that reasonable salary. Now, you do want to document your salary. Put your salary in writing. Make sure your payroll taxes are being withheld and reported. Play it smart. Don't pay yourself zero, but don't overpay yourself either. Need help figuring it out? We got you. See you next time on Tax Talk.
But he's also now bringing us to his family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's a good feeling. It gives you that feeling that you're doing things right, and not only are you expanding the business and growing, but you're also helping the client grow. Because if your clients are constantly going out of business, then you're running out of clients, really, you know. And so it comes down to we're there to help. You know, we're there to help, and simply just working with us, the level of attention that you're getting, you know, and obviously.
Feeling overwhelmed by tax deadlines, confusing forms, and sudden IRS notices is usually the sign to hire a tax professional. Like a small business owner we helped who tried to do their taxes alone, until a small mistake almost causes them thousands. Don't wait for the stress or penalties. Let us handle your taxes so you can focus on growing your business. DM us the word tax to get started.